Hello friends and potential friends. Yep, I'm in the wrong side of the camera again because I was recently tagged by my friend Dan at Dan Permaculture Food Forrest to participate in a collaboration to answer 10 questions regarding how the current pandemic has changed my life. In a way, I suspect that my responses will be pretty disappointing because frankly my life hasn't changed all that much because of the pandemic. But if I dig a little bit deeper, perhaps some of the reasons for that lack of change may encourage other folks to make some changes in their own lives going forward. Dan mentioned that in his response video, when he tagged me, that I actually was, an IT professional like himself. I spent 35 years as a professional computer programmer. My career was always in the public sector because I was not really motivated by the high salaries and stress levels available in the private sector. I just loved playing with computers. I spent the first half of my career working for two large community colleges here in Florida, did a short stint in the federal court system in Texas, and then spent the last 15 years working for the Florida Department of Health. In some ways, working for the health department turned me into a professional prepper. You see, health department staff in Florida are first responders. They're responsible for emergency support functions, ESF 8, which is health and medical, and ESF 20, which is special needs shelters. During the years I worked there, all staff were required to have a go kit in their car at all times. Think of that as a bug out bag. We were subject to potential long-term deployment on a moment's notice in order to respond to emergencies or disasters. It was a part of our job was to be prepared. Granted, much of our preparations in Florida center around hurricanes, but I was also there for the swine flu, as well as the bird flu, Ebola, H1N1, and we were busy during all those events in planning, training, testing, and support. Incidentally, the drive-up testing that you're seeing in the current situation is really nothing new. For bird flu and H1N1, folks could drive through our parking lot and get a flu shot without leaving their car. We called it drive-by shooting. About 5 years into my time at the health department, I began to have some uneasy feelings about the direction that things were going and how that might impact my own future. State leaders first froze budgets in the state and later began making budget cuts, with most of the cuts coming from the Department of Health, since we were a pretty large agency within the state. So I began making changes in my life to allow me to be better prepared for any changes that might come in the future. I got very serious about eliminating all of my debts and also began growing a garden, learning to prepare and preserve what I grew, and generally creating a food insurance plan. Eventually, the time came when 10 years of no cost of living increases put me in a position that my state pension and Social Security would actually increase my monthly income, and I had successfully reduced my debts to zero, so I retired and got my first raise in 10 years. But I continued to expand my culinary achievements as well as building my pantry. So along came this beer bug. No worries. My past experiences taught me how to handle these things, and so I decided this would be a good test of how well my preparations had positioned me. So let's see about these questions. Question number 1, how many rolls of toilet paper do I have? You have to remember I live in hurricane country. I always keep a large pack of toilet paper in the house in case a storm decides to come and visit. Before all this began, I had two 18 double roll packs of toilet paper in the house, and at the moment I've got 22 rolls on hand, plenty to hold me for a few months. And quite frankly, I really do not understand this obsession people have with toilet paper. Question 2, what's been my biggest change since the lockdown? Simply put, I'm staying home. Prior to the current event, I generally would go shopping every week or two. Now, I plan my trips carefully, and I've been going out to the grocery stores about once a month if I have any need. I keep a shopping list, and when the list gets long enough, I put on my mask and go out into the public. Question 3, what am I most grateful for? That one's pretty easy. My mother and 2 sisters are healthy and safe living in Oregon. They're getting a little bit stir crazy, but they are healthy and safe. What have I gone without lately? Well, initially it was kind of a struggle to find eggs, but on my last venture out a few weeks ago I was able to stock up, so I'm not really doing without anything that I would normally have. However, I am seriously considering violating the local ordinances in my town and putting a few chickens in the backyard. As a secondary answer to this one, and why you see me blinking a lot, prior to all this coming about, I was preparing to have cataract surgery on one of my eyes. And when all this started, I basically had to put that off. Now that the state is starting to open again, I'm starting to think about whether I'm ready to go out and get that taken care of. What am I missing most? Question 5, being with my family. It is pretty lonely around here. I'm the only one in the house, and it would be nice to have some company from time to time. Question 6, when was the last time I was at a campsite? Probably 20 or 30 years ago. My stepfather used to be a big hunter, and we would have to go out to his campsite for Thanksgiving dinner because he was staying in the woods. Those are some pretty nice times. I remember that. That really doesn't have anything to do with the beer bug. Question 7. What's my favorite quarantine food? Well, I've been using this event to test various ways to stretch my stores, using things like potatoes as filler, rice, in various recipes. To be honest, I haven't really made a dent in my freezer yet after a couple of months, so I'm still generally eating what I always have. I must admit I'm partial to chicken wings. Question 8. How am I exercising and working out? Well, most of my exercise comes from working in the garden, and as a side note, slowly trying to recover parts of my backyard that I lost control of during the last hurricane. One thing I did cut out is my nightly walks in the local park. Question 9. What has or will be my pandemic panic purchase? Wasn't really a panic. I've been thinking about this for a couple of months now, even before the COVID came around. But I did invest in a vertical planter that I put on my front porch. Right now I've got a variety of herbs growing in there, and I'm expanding it slowly as I get more seeds planted. I've been thinking about it for a while, but if it wasn't for this COVID thing, it probably would have come later. Okay, question 10. What 5 channels will I tag? This one's always a tough choice. I haven't checked with any of these folks, so basically I'm just putting this out as an invitation to participate in the challenge if they want to do so. No pressure. In no particular order, I'd like to tag Chris and Darlene at Homesteading the Hard Way, Carlton at the Pharmacy Seeds Network, Eric at Eccentric Nature, Joey and Chris at My Slice of Heaven Outdoors, and finally Joy Stewart. I just love listening to her stories, and I'm sure she can bring a lot to this. Probably a lot of good useful down-home knowledge. But that's it, folks. This is my response to the challenge. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And I'll see you on the next one.